Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melisa Caprio.
Hey guys, and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. How are you guys doing on this Wednesday? I hope you are doing well. I have a really amazing guest today, Dr. Reverend Ahmondra McClendon, and she's going to join me in just a few minutes, and we're going to be talking about and sharing her story from her book called The Uncrowned Queen Reclaims Her Throne When a Black Woman Breaks the Silence. I just finished it this morning. I got the pleasure of listening to it because I love to listen to books. And it touched me so deeply. I just loved it so much. So we're going to talk about that with her in just a few. So just a couple of things for my regulars that are on my show or tune into my show each week or listen to the replays of the show. Thank you so much. I hope you keep coming back. I hope you like the guests that I have on. I try to have a nice variety of people and different topics to talk about on my show. And if you're joining me for the first time, I want to say a big welcome. Thank you for being here with me. I also hope you enjoy the show and that you'll keep coming back. So just a little bit about me. I am an author, I'm an artist, I'm a photographer, and I also have a book, and it's titled Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. And in my book, I have 30 manifesting stories, along with photographs that I took of the contributors' manifesting postcards. And a manifesting postcard is kind of like a mini vision board. It's about what we want to bring into our life, and I photograph it. So the book includes 30 postcards with the stories of whoever submitted for my book, the people that were kind enough to submit, when their what they put on their postcard became a reality in their life. So that's basically what the book is about. It is broken down into 4 groups, which is love, money, health, and career. But there's so much more. And in my book, I have a whole bunch of writing exercises, and it helps us get clear on what it is we want to bring into our life, and what is it the feeling that we want, what do we want, why is it not happening? And so this just kind of like helps us get really clear on those issues, because that's very important. So if you're interested in learning more, and I hope you are, go to your favorite bookstore, and or you can order it online, Postcards to the Universe, and let me know what you think about it. Please, I would love to hear it. And also, each week, I ask people to send me a manifesting postcard. They're super fun to make. If you are like, what is she talking about? Don't know how to do it. All you have to do is go to postcardstotheuniverse.com, and I have how to make a manifesting postcard along with the address to send it to. And if you sign up on the Join My Movement, you're going to get a little free gift, a manifesting ritual about how to manifest and how to create a postcard and all the fun things that you could get. So please come over there. Now, if you're on Facebook and you like groups, I have a group called Postcards of Love. It's public. It's only uplifting stuff. So it's a really nice group. Okay, so I announced this a few weeks ago. I have a workshop starting next week. It's called Manifesting Through Gratitude, a Visual Journey. It's going to run 5 weeks. It's 2 hours of class. It's 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. And it's about living a grateful and creative life, because I have found, and I've mentioned this many times before, that living in gratitude for what we already have, the experiences we've already been through, is the fastest and most powerful way to bring in more of what we want into our lives, because we're grateful for things that we maybe take for granted on a daily basis. I mean, just the use of your own body. If your body is working the way it's supposed to work, I mean, we take that for granted. We should be so grateful for that. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. And what's really cool about the the way that I did the workshop is I'm going to be asking you to use your camera phone. We all have them pretty much now, as part of the work that we're going to be doing. So we're going to be using photography to enhance our gratitude experience. And the course is broken down into the themes of our lives where we need to maybe pick it up a little bit in gratitude, so we can have more of. For example, the first week is going to start with worthiness, because if we don't feel we're worthy of the things that we want, they do not show up, no matter what we think, say. If we don't feel we deserve it, if we're not in that energetic space of worthiness, the love you want, the career change, the abundance in finances, it just doesn't come. So that sets the stone and sets the foundation for the work. And then we go into health, and we go into money and our money story, and we go into relationships. And relationships are not just romantic, it's relationships with family, friends, coworkers, the like. So if you're interested, and I really hope that you'll join me, you could do it from your house. You don't have to go anywhere. You can go to finduniquelyyou.com/Melisa Caprio, and I'll give you all the information and how to sign up. And that's finduniquelyyou.com, finduniquelyyou.com. My name, Melisa Caprio, and you'll find it. And I also have a link to it on my website, Postcards to the Universe, so you can go there. So at the end of the course, you're going to have such a shift in your life, and you're going to have a beautiful visual gratitude journal. And we're also going to be doing manifesting postcards in the workshop for each area that we're going to be working on. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So I really, really hope that I see you there. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me, and I'll fill you in on more information. Okay, so each week I share I call them a magical message, and it's usually a postcard that has an affirmation. There's something that resonates with me, and I love affirmations. I've used them in the past. I use them all the time, especially when stuff's going on and I really need a pick-me-up. I go for my affirmation. So I like to photograph an affirmation as a postcard, and I usually post them on Mondays. So this week's message, magical message, is dream big. Now, I always go into a kind of little, what do I mean by dream big, and, or whatever the affirmation is for what I'm talking about for the show. But it's wonderful that today's guest is going to be talking all about this. We're talking about, telling your stories and living your big dreams. So I don't really need to do that. We're going to do it, we're going to do it just in the conversation with my guest. So let's get to her. Dr. Reverend Ahmondra McClendon holds a Master of Social Work degree from San Francisco State University and a Doctor of Ministry degree from New York Theological Seminary with 35 plus years in human service delivery. She has a unique perspective on life. Although her life is in harmony now, it wasn't always. For years, she existed within the legacy of silence, a generational pattern of behavior, opening a window into a world where Black women suffer in silence. She uncovers the strength, courage, and resiliency they exhibit while facing childhood trauma, domestic violence, drug addiction, and paralyzing grief. A passionate advocate for healing, she offers a pathway to freedom from the African diaspora who wonder why they live with silenced voices and hurting hearts. She created the original Queen's Sacred Community to facilitate change and strengthen the bonds of sisterhood. This community is our tribe and a safe space to speak truths, recognize triumphs, and share unconditional love as we heal generational pain and trauma. The Uncrowned Queen Reclaims Her Throne When a Black Woman Breaks the Silence is a must-read for Black women of all ages seeking to better understand themselves and their ancestral heritage, and for those interested in learning more about their challenges. This is a quote. Holding hands and standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, we can guide each other out of the dark world of secrets into the daylight of truth. Together, we can reclaim our thrones and break the legacy of silence. So if you want to find out more about her, go to her website. It's http://UCQueen.com. Welcome, Dr. Ahmondra. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Oh, I'm excited to be here, Melissa. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, I loved your book. Like I said, so I'm a big listener. I love to listen to audiobooks. And I love that you narrated the book. You have a really beautiful speaking voice, by the way. So I don't know if you've ever considered, adding a podcast to your list of everything that you're already doing, but to talk about all of this.
But wait a minute, Melissa, this is so amazing. I didn't read it. I found a woman who has a voice that sounds exactly like mine.
Oh my God, she sounds exactly like you.
I know. I auditioned like 5 different individuals. And she has a voice. Linda has a voice sound just like mine.
I have goosebumps.
Thank you. Yes,
she does. She sounds exactly like you. I thought, and the way, and with her inflection, and especially when you were talking about things and traumatic things that have happened to you, and other women in your family and your ancestry, and I was like getting goosebumps because, I would have never known. Well, good to know. But either way, either way. So.
Thank you.
So why don't you share a little bit about, who you are, like a little bit about your journey, the things that you talk about in your book, and how you claimed your queendom back, how you got it back. Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. As I was writing the book, I realized that I've been so blessed because I've come through so much. Mm-hmm. And this is a story about healing and transformation. And the fact that I lived so many years with secrets of a 20-plus year drug and alcohol addiction, secrets about domestic violence, secrets about childhood trauma, molestation, and then as a young woman, having my best friend murdered and never understanding who did it or why they did it, and never speaking about any of that, but living this life on the outside as if everything was okay. I was a high achiever. I went to college. If you looked at me and you looked at my ex-husband, we looked like the perfect couple, like life was well and good, and it wasn't. I was living behind a wall of secrets. And it wasn't until my 20s when I was diagnosed with discoid lupus erythematosus that I really started to understand if I did not do something, I was going to live a life of illness for a long time and possibly die because of my illness. And that was when I started to begin to make small changes. And then I made a large change. And that large change was ending my marriage, which was filled with domestic violence. Mm-hmm. I ended that marriage, returned to school, and also started to do some healing. And as a result, I ended up in recovery. I was a practicing addict and alcoholic, which means that I functioned every day. I got up and I went to work every day. So in my mind, I was fine. How could I be an addict or an alcoholic if I'm functioning and I'm completing college and I'm an administrator of a large organization, not realizing or understanding that it is a disease. And through a series of events, I ended up, it's funny, in a meeting, I thought I was going to help other people and ended up helping myself. Mm-hmm. And that is when I stepped into recovery. And that is when I started looking at my life, truly peeling back the curtain and taking a really honest look, like everything isn't okay. And I am hurting, and hurting in a very deep way. And that is when the recovery started. And that is also when I was made friends with other women in recovery, and we're still friends. That's why sisterhood is so important to me. We've been together for 35, I've been in recovery 36 years. So we've been together all this time. And this is the place where I can go to and talk about whatever's going on with me so that I don't live with those secrets. Because secrets have a tendency to make us do other things so that we feel good, because the secrets make us feel bad.
Yeah.
And now, so that's my background.
So I have a question for you as a Black woman. Now, a lot of women, just women in general of all colors, hide our shame. We do hide our shame. But the way you talk in the book about the ancestry of Black women is in the community, which I didn't know until I was listening to your book, was there is a code of silence that's sort of known. Like, you don't share your stuff or what happened to you with anybody, right? That's just yours.
Exactly.
And where, like, why do you think, like, how did that start? Or why do you think that's something that kept carrying on from generation to generation?
Right. I call it generational patterns of behavior. So living in Africa, in the homeland, women were revered, and we were queens and queen mothers. When we were removed, kidnapped, and brought from our homeland to this country, we had to learn how to communicate in silence. We had to learn how to keep those things to ourselves that might get us beaten or killed. And we had to train our children to be quiet also. And so we learned how to live with that silence as a way to stay alive, but we formed a way to communicate inside of that silence. And it was passed down from generation to generation. My grandmother received it. She passed it to my mother passed it to me. But what happened inside of that, we didn't learn how to communicate the pain to each other. We kept everything silent. So even though I was holding these secrets to keep myself safe, I wasn't sharing it with someone else. I was just keeping them inside. And so what happens when you do that, your body absorbs that negative energy and you get sick.
Yeah.
And that, I believe, is why today heart attack and stroke is the number one killer of Black women. And there are other legacies. And if you go to my website, ucqueen.com, I just created a brand new ebook. And it talks about not only the legacy of silence, it talks about the legacy of endurance and the legacy of mothering. These are other behaviors that Black women have as a result of how we had to live in this country and how we had to support others around us. And we never supported ourselves. And it's passed down to generations.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting. So I was thinking when I was listening, and I know that you have a you're very spiritual, you're a minister, you have a deep connection to spirit, a deep connection to God. Why do you think that generations ago this happened to people from Africa? Why do you think a group was taken and beaten and kidnapped and enslaved? Like, on the more, I'm talking about more in the like global, like spiritual, like you know, like the learning curves, or like why did we have to have that? Like, why did that even have to happen? Do you understand the question I'm trying to ask you? Like, like what, you know, like, I can't understand like where somebody said, oh, you know what, there's a person who's darker skinned than me. I think I'm just going to take them and enslave them. Like, I just don't understand how that even happens.
Well, if you study it, you find that a lot of it was economics. You had a group of individuals who were building economies, and and a lot of it has to do with ignorance. They did not understand who these people were that was different from them. They didn't know who they were. They didn't understand that they had this thriving, rich culture. They just knew that they were different than they were. And as a result, we can take them away from where they are because they're different than us, and we have to be better than them because they're doing things differently than we are. And so that justified them being able to go in and actually remove individuals from their culture, from their land, and take them and bring them to a place where they could use them for economic gain. That's it. And not taking the time to understand that these people don't look like us, they don't express like us, but they have a vibrant culture. And this culture is rich, but it's different from ours. And because it's different from ours has to be better than theirs. And so as a result, we can just do what we choose to do.
It's just, I don't know. It's one of those things that you shake your head at that you're just like, you just can't even believe it actually happened. And, systematic racism is still going on every day. So it's just, yeah.
Right. And in my book, I love my life because I have a mother who was born in Bermuda.
Yeah.
And she grew up as a British subject. Mm-hmm. She had no idea what systemic racism was until she moved to this country.
Yeah.
And as a little girl, I grew up understanding what it felt like to live inside of systemic racism here in this country, but I also understood what it felt like to be inside of a culture where that wasn't present. And that was a blessing for me. Yeah. Because I saw something that was different than what I experienced every day. And I would say things like, it doesn't have to be this way, because I know that there's a country where things happen differently. Now, I'm not saying Bermuda did not have any type of prejudices, but they did not have the systemic racism that's put in place in this country the way it is and the way it has been. Black women.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Black women have been the rock. Mm-hmm. When we came to this country, we came with so many skills. Mm-hmm. We had, just these skills that were utilized by those people who held us in captivity. And it was left up to us to take care of everybody. We took care of our people, and we took care of our captors' people. And as a result, we did not take care of ourselves. And that is still happening to this day. And this whole book, I share my story and put everything out there to give other women the opportunity to see they're not alone, that we all share this story. But because our history was hidden from us and kept from us, a lot of us, I didn't know about the generational patterns of behavior until I went deeper into my own healing and realized that this was passed down. When we understand that, it gives us an opportunity to start the healing. You can't start a healing process if you don't know where to start.
Right.
But, when you have a little
and you have
opening,
to be
you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and you have to be open to looking at your own stuff and your own life and the pain. You have to address the pain and where it came from. And for a lot of people, there's a fear around that. They don't want to. So It's easier to numb yourself out with drugs and alcohol or whatever your vice is, because you don't want to deal with that deep pain. Yeah, when I was reading the story, or listening to the story, and I was listening about your mom and how you spoke about Bermuda and then your mom being here, and I was thinking, did she ever want to go back there, or she couldn't go back there?
Well, my mother was amazing. She did not want to go back and live in Bermuda, but she never gave up her British citizenship. Because she said to me, I don't know what they're going to do in this country. I want to always be able to go home. And so she became a permanent resident. But she never gave up her British citizenship. Because of that reason, because of not knowing what was going to happen in this country. Yeah,
well, I know. It's unbelievable. No, I know. I was thinking about that because the way you described it and the way how she was so surprised when she got here. And I was thinking, wow, like, I wonder if the opportunity wasn't available to her. Like, she couldn't go back because your grandmother, her mother was still there. Still living there. So there was family still there. But before I really want to get into this call to action for Black women, and that's going to be a deep conversation. So I want to take our break now so I don't have to interrupt you. And then when we come back in just a couple of minutes, we can get into it. Guys, stay tuned. Be back in a few.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Everyone has a story. I have a story. You have a story. We all have a story. As I see it, you have three choices. Allow your story to define you, use it to excuse you, or utilize it as a method to empower you. It's your life. You have the power. You choose. Rewrite your story on finduniquelyyou.com.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives. Welcome back. So if you're just joining me today, I'm speaking with Dr. Reverend Ahmondra McClendon, and we're talking about her book, The Uncrowned Queen Reclaims Her Throne, When a Black Woman Breaks the Silence. So I want to talk about this call to action that you put out with your work, that you put out with your book for Black women, and you can explain what the African Diaspora is, because it's the first time I've ever heard it, so I know a lot of people who are listening wouldn't have any idea what that is. So can you share with us?
Absolutely. The diaspora is a word that says anyone living away from their particular country. Like Africa is our original land. Mm-hmm. So when I say Black women from the African diaspora, I'm not just referring to African American women. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking to women globally who have an African ancestry. It's from the diaspora. That's what that means. Mm-hmm. And I was very mindful that I made sure I said that, because Black women are everywhere. When we were taken from Africa, we went all over the world. And I didn't want my story to be limited just to the women living within the United States. I wanted it to be a story for all Black women who have ancestral ties to Africa. The call to action for me is us reclaiming our heritage, us reclaiming our power. We weren't raised to understand that we actually came from queens, that the oldest living remains on the planet is 4.4 million years old, and it was a female from Ethiopia, an African female. And we are descendants from her. Everybody is. And Black women weren't allowed to understand who we were as queens on the continent, that the first individuals who fought those who were taking people, kidnapping people from Africa were queens. We're just finding that out now. You can go on Netflix and they have movies about it. That we come from royalty. And so the call to action for me is that we understand who we are. And we understand it by being together in sisterhood. I lived in Ghana for a year, and it was in Ghana that I really, really began to understand my culture and where I come from, and that the women get together all the time, and they talk, and they nurture, and they love on each other. That's their support. There is no nuclear family. It's an extended family. And so that extended family keeps everyone connected also to the ancestors. The part of my call to action is also us recognizing our ancestors. In the book, every chapter has someone who's dedicated that chapter to a female who has passed away, to an ancestor. Because it's important for us to know whose shoulders we're standing on. So that call to action is a call to action not only for us to go into our own personal healing and the traumas we've experienced personally, but also to look at what we've experienced collectively and to begin to come together and to talk about that so that we can reclaim our power, we can reclaim our voices, and rejoice in who we are. That's the call to action. And it has to happen quickly because we are suffering. We're dying physically and spiritually. And at the same time, great things are happening because Black women are entering these powerful, powerful positions in the world. And it's exciting. So it's exciting that we now step up and say, okay, let us all heal together. Let us come together. Let us actually look at what is behind those walls of silence that's hurting us.
That makes sense. I resonated a lot when you were talking about your connection to Ghana and your ancestry, because I had a similar experience when I was in Italy, because I'm Italian. I was born here in America, but I'm Italian. So there was being being connected to people of where my ancestors came from. It's hard to describe the feeling, but when I was listening to you describing it, I understood the connection. It was it's like a deeper connection when you're connecting to your ancestors that, your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and you keep going, came from, and that's still running in our DNA. So I really resonated with that. And also the culture, talking about the extended family. That's a very Italian thing also. The extended family is raising the children. And I realized that we all have such similar, stories in some ways, and how we can heal this. And for Black women to get their power back. It's interesting because a lot of like Beyonce or like the famous popular women, they call themselves queen, right? That's a thing I've heard, I am a queen. And I never really got it, I just thought, well, of course she's a queen. She's Beyonce. You know what I mean? I didn't connect it until I was listening to your book. Yeah. It's deeper. And then I went, oh, I understand. Yeah. So how do you feel Black women, especially in America, in our country, how do you think they are feeling right now about everything that's going on? Like, are they lost? Do they feel lost in the wind? Do they feel like it's always the same? We're underappreciated, undervalued? Like, can you share that with us a little?
Well, I can't. Well, first I want to say that I'm not saying that we don't have power, because we do.
Right, of course you do.
We are very powerful. So when I say reclaim our throne, it's more of a reclaiming of our ancestral history, the knowledge of who we are, and then reclaiming our individual power to put us first.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. And as far as how we're feeling, I can't speak for every Black woman.
No, of course not.
Those
but I mean, just from those in your community that you have, you're in contact with.
Exactly. In my community, we're feeling like it's our time now. It's our time to just stop with the silence, to speak what's there, to step up completely and totally and speak with an active voice. It's our time. And a lot of that has to do with the generations the younger generations, they are speaking with active voices. They do not live under the same training that I say lived under. And a lot of it has to do with their world is different. They have a world of social media. They have a world where they're contacting with people all over the world, where I didn't have that. Right. And the other really exciting piece for me is that because of social media, the world has become smaller. And so now we can reach out and we can learn our culture. Like you said, you went back to Italy and that there you could identify your ancestors. Well, we can't do that. I went to Ghana, but I couldn't say that this is where my ancestors were. They came. Right. I can't say that. And so African Americans in this country, we don't have that type of history connected to us. We have to actually go and search it out. And in the meantime, we're living inside of the culture here. that wants to deny who we are, and we created our own culture. And that's happening more and more. We're reclaiming our culture. We're stepping up. We're finding these places in this world where we have been existing and existing powerfully, and we're bringing that out. We're saying, this is who we are. And it's amazing because you see new museums being erected. You see our culture being put more in the forefront. That is all so powerful for us in reclaiming our culture. That's when I say reclaiming that throne, reclaiming our queendom. That is it. The reason I created the original Queen Sacred Community was to recreate that sisterhood that is available to us in Africa, that coming together, bringing all our resources together. Now, that's happening big time in the country. I mean, there's all kinds of organizations around, and there's still individual Black women who aren't a part of those. So it's like, okay, here's another one. You can join this one. We can have as many as we need. And so the original Queen Sacred Community is just another space for women to come into and to begin to have those conversations that they haven't been able to have in the past. One of the things that I love when you talk about the gratitude journals, I created something very similar, and it's called the Appreciation Journal. And it's specifically for us to begin our day by appreciating who we are.
Right.
When I do my gratitude journal, I'm usually talking about me being grateful for those things that are external to me. So when I do my appreciation journal, I'm appreciating me and my abilities and my qualities. And that is a great place for us to begin that healing process. Yeah. And on my website, there is the ritual. And you can go on there, you can see the ritual. And I even created the steps in a downloadable PDF. You can actually download them. And it walks you through how to do the ritual. And the ritual is called the I Am Ritual, the I Appreciate Me Ritual, that you can do every morning to set your day, because it's shining the light on us. If you shine the light on yourself first, then you have more energy and more power to go out and help others.
Definitely.
You're not depleting yourself. Yeah.
Definitely. It's funny. Yeah, because when I talk about gratitude, and in my book, I have I am, and it's, and it is appreciating our bodies and who we are. And and I wrote it in the book it's easy to do in the shower while you're showering.
Okay. Yes. Exactly.
So I love that.
Exactly.
I love that. Yeah, because that's claiming, and you talk about that about your body, how you had to claim back your body and what you were told was perceived as beautiful and who you are, until you really got that this is who I am. So how would this is about women first, but how is this how are men, how can men join into this too? Because I imagine there's a lot of Black men who would love to reclaim their own kingdom or whatever, instead of queendom So are men in your group?
No, they're not in the original Queens, but they're supportive of the original Queens. It's so funny because one of my best friends, he has a tribute in the book, and the tributes to his sister. And 30 years ago, when I started the work with women, he helped me write my first grant and to get funds so that I could run my group. And it was funny. I had one of my male friends ask me, "But what about us?" I said, "You have to go find your own. You have to find your own Ahmondra." But you can support us.
You can support, right? As women have been supporting men for ever,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And in the book, I think I have 1, 2, 3. I think there's 4 men who've honored the women in their lives.
Yes.
And so, but when you get close to an empowered female, you can't do anything but want to heal yourself. And that is what happened. That is what happened. You know,
that's a great line. That's a great line. That's a great, a great sentence. So share about your name, because that's very significant in your story. Your mother gave you the name Brenda, and you talk about reconciling. And so how did you get your name, and how did that happen?
Well, real quickly, because it's a long story. Quickly, I went into a space of very, very deep pain. I had an experience with a man and a woman, and I went into a space of very deep pain. And every day I would walk. And in this walking meditation, this name, Ahmondra, surfaced. And it surfaced like, this is who you are, and this is a powerful spirit, and not to share it. And through a series of events, I kept that name inside and didn't share it. And then when I did share it, I shared it with an individual who told me that when the time was right, I would know when to share that name with the world. And I was at a conference, and events happened where I shared to the whole room that I had lived inside of a drug addiction for so many years, and what happened as a result. I was able to do all these things. And the facilitator helped me understand how powerful that was, that I could function even inside of this addiction that was holding me down. And from there, I started crying, and people started hugging me. And that is when this internal power called Ahmondra expressed. And it expressed in the form of this energy. And when this energy came out of me, women that were in this circle around me actually felt the heat and experienced healing. And that day, I was able to use that name, share that name in the world. And it's interesting because I did not change my name to Ahmondra. I simply added it on because my name is Ahmondra Brenda McClendon. And so I had to understand that this powerful energy is a part of me. And Brenda, the little girl who grew up in the projects and who had all these different experiences, she's there also. And when I was in Africa, they came together. And they became merged. And so
I love the story you tell.
McClendon.
I do. I love the story you tell when you're in Africa, how you're going to different locations and you're meeting these different, and they're telling you you're a healer, and you're like, what? I'm a what? That you have to read the book. That experience was so amazing. I ran from it, just like so many individuals who receive a calling to do something. We run from it because it's unfamiliar, and we don't believe we're worthy of it, so we run from it. Yeah, I was laughing because your friend, you said to your friend, did you tell him? And she's like, I'm not telling anybody I don't know in Africa, nothing. I was like, oh my God, that's how it was great. That must have been
it was. I would just say, if you're listening, get the book. If you're not sure, go to the website, ucqueen.com, and you can hear excerpts of the book. I actually have the excerpts there that you can hear, so that you could begin to heal. And for those women who are not of African descent, I want to say the book is there for you to read also, so that you can begin to understand who we are. Because the narratives that are out in the world about Black women are not narratives that we necessarily wrote.
Right.
And so for you to understand us on that deeper level, if you read my story, it opens up a world that you may not be privy to. And it will give you a much deeper understanding of who we are.
Yeah, well, that's what I really enjoyed about the book, because the way you laid it out, and you share other people's experiences and stories, and I learned a lot of things that I didn't know, and it helped me understand some things that maybe I had questions about in the past. Where this comes from and how this comes from. And I love when a book does that for me, because I'm like a sponge. I'm such a reader. I've always been a reader. That's what I love about books. So when somebody else's experience that I have no knowledge of and don't understand, and I can read it from someone else and I learn something about them, it makes me feel like a richer person inside. That's just my own thing.
It does. And that was one of my goals in writing the book. It took a while to lay it out in such a way that, because I wanted to be a book, at the end of every chapter, there's questions. I want this to be a book that probes, that helps individuals question themselves and heal, and to actually see how I healed, what I had to go through in order to get to where I am today. And I'm still healing. I'm still it never stops. It always keeps moving forward. And I am available, for people. They can contact me through the website. I am available. And the other thing I want to make sure I say is that inside of Original Queens, there is another group called the Legacy Group. And the Legacy Group is for those individuals who feel that they need a much deeper healing. I have friends who are licensed clinical social workers, and they will be a part of that group. Because when you get to dealing with deep healing, it's a time sometimes where you need professionals to work with you.
Of course.
And so that is available there. I don't want anyone to believe or feel like this is something easy, and it's because it can be something very deep, very important, that we provide the support that individuals need. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it's deep. I mean, there were moments where I had tears in my eyes and crying listening to some of the stories, because, you can hear it and you can imagine it, so I can't even, for the person who had to experience it. And then you talk about an experience with your stepfather and how you forgave him. And I thought, wow, because when I was listening to this story, I was like mad. I was so mad. I was like, and that's when it's a good book, when you get emotional about it, as you're listening to it. So, but I know that's part of your ministry, is you have to heal the things that have happened to you so you can help facilitate the healing in others. Yeah, if you don't.
And I learned that it was in recovery that I actually broke through that wall, I should say. And learned that forgiveness is for me. It's not so much for the other. You'll never forget, but the forgiveness allows me to move forward without anger and hatred being buried deep in my spirit and my soul. So
that's true. That's true. And we forget that, because it's not letting the other person off the hook and saying what they did was okay. That's not what forgiveness is. So I think a lot of people have a hard time with that, because they're thinking, well, I'm saying it's okay. No, you're not. You're just saying, I'm not going to let you take up any more space in my body and in my mind and in my emotions, right?
Yeah. And it takes a minute to get there, too. It takes time to get there. And so if you're not in that place right now, it's okay. You just know that you can get there. That, it's the hurt, whatever your trauma, won't be there forever unless you hold it in place.
Unless you hold it. Yeah. And that the thing I really loved about your book the most was you are showing us that we have the power within ourselves to heal. ourselves. We don't need to go, we may need help to get there and find whatever helps you, but we still have the ability to do it. Right? We could still do it. You don't have to be the victim your whole life. Right? And that's what I really got out of your book. I mean, I really, really connected with it. And I'm so glad our friend Diana connected us.
I know. I am so happy also that I got a chance to connect with you. And we will continue to work together, I'm sure.
Oh,
I am definitely sure that, yes, we will.
Is there anything you want to just give a quick say out loud before we wrap up?
I just want to say, go to my website, ucqueen.com, look around, download the new ebook, download the steps to the ritual, contact me, join the original Queens, either as an African-American woman or as a friend of the Queens. Get into action. Thank you,
Ahmondra.
Melisa.
Oh, thank you, Ahmondra. It was such a pleasure speaking with you today. Yeah, guys, go over and check her out. And sign up for my workshop next week at finduniquelyyou.com. Thanks, everyone, for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Thank you. Bye, guys, next week. Peace.